Whew, getting some elevation. Wow, take a look at this view. Hong Kong is very busy and very hot this time of year, and so I have found a spot on the top of a skyscraper. I'm on the 29th floor of a residence at the University of Hong Kong. We come here to move my son out, and it's actually just nice to have this moment on the top of this building. I might even go a little bit higher in a moment. So I want to talk about the 5 mind traps that keep you stuck. Now, a trap traps you. It keeps you stuck in one place. It makes you unable to move, okay? So a mind trap is a similar kind of thing. It functions like that. It keeps you stuck. Now, if you were sort of stuck in a proper trap, you know, in the ground, like some kind of snare, you would know that you were trapped and you try to escape. But with a mind trap, you don't necessarily know you're trapped, and so you don't try to escape. But what you do have is you have the consequences of the trap, and that generally makes you feel unhappy. It makes you feel anxious, makes you feel depressed, panicky, sad, it makes you feel stressed. It makes you feel dissatisfied with where you are. So if you feel dissatisfied where you are, that's how you know that you're in a mind trap. Okay, the first mind trap is this. We tend to think that, or we tend to believe that what we think, the thoughts that we have, are accurate. We always assume that whatever we're thinking is correct. Now that is a terrible mind trap, because your brain is really creative and constructive, and in a sense, well, not in a sense, actually in actuality, it creates your experience. Think of it like this. Your brain sits inside your head in the dark. It has no information about the external world other than what comes in through the 5 senses. But all of the information that comes in through the 5 senses is encoded. Photons of light, pressure for the fingers, molecules of particular things for taste and smell, and sound waves. Your brain decodes all this information, and what it does is it constructs a virtual reality simulation. It's called an inner working model of the external reality, of the external world. And that internal working model of the external world is what you respond to. You do not respond to the external world. And I know it sounds crazy, and it's hard to believe, but think about it. It has to be thus. Your brain does not respond to what's going on. It responds to its construction, its understanding, its idea of what's going on. And that gives plenty of opportunity for error. All mental health problems are mistakes. They're errors made by the brain when it constructs your internal reality. Now, if you watch my videos, you know I say that there's an external reality and an internal reality. All mental health problems, by and large, are internal reality problems. That means that they're problems created by this inner working model, this idea of what's going on. So the first mind trap, and it's profound and it's a tough one, but it's almost like something you've got to think about, you've got to chew on, you've got to reflect upon. Your brain gives you many, many thoughts, and some proportion of them are not accurate. There might be generalizations, there might be things like prejudices, which are kind of sort of automatic thought processes that you load, right? If you're prejudiced against something, you don't have to think about it, you just load the prejudice. If you hate something, you don't have to think about it, you just load the hate program. So your brain is giving you an experience. Some of it's accurate, some of it's not, and it's hard for you to tell the difference. So the first one, the thoughts that you have are not always true. If you wanted a vision of impermanence, there's a cemetery on the hillside there, and beyond it, boats at anchor and what might be the bridge to Kowloon in Hong Kong. The second mind trap is that the feelings that you have, the emotions that you have, do not necessarily accurately reflect what's going on. They may do or they may not. Now, let's face it, emotions are incredibly powerful and important. If you had no emotions, life would be extraordinarily flat and probably almost not worth living. But that does not mean that your emotions are always correct. And we know this because if your thoughts are not correct, that leads to incorrect emotions. So for instance, using my example of prejudice, if you're automatically prejudiced against something, you automatically have the emotion that goes with that prejudice. And we can think of thoughts and emotions as neural programs in a sense. They're simply programs that your brain loads to give you the outcome. And so if you're experiencing worry or anxiety or panic or depression or other kinds of powerful kind of mental health problems, you're really struggling with the emotion of these problems. I feel sad, I feel threatened, I feel like I'm gonna get annihilated, I'm gonna get killed, I feel really, really desperate. These feelings do not reflect external reality. And external reality, you're probably no different from anyone else. But if our thoughts are wrong, our emotions are wrong, and therefore our experience is wrong, again, it's a mistake. Your feelings are not facts. Now, if you always assume that your feelings are correct, then you're always going to be like a leaf in the wind. You're always going to be subjected to whatever is going on. So that puts you in the control of other people, it puts you in the control of other forces, it puts you in control of the weather, it puts you in control of all sorts of other stuff. And if you don't feel that you have emotional control, you're always going to feel vulnerable. So the second mind trap is that feelings are definitely not facts. Important, but not necessarily accurate. Look at that container ship going through the straits. So the third mind trap is that we care too much what others think of us. Now we all, irrespective of what anybody says, we all care what other people think of us because it's like evolutionarily adapted, right? To survive historically, I mean like way back when, in Stone Age and before, we had to be part of a team, part of a family, part of a group, a clan. So we have mutual help. But we don't live like that now by and large, but we're still left with this terribly potent idea that other people are thinking about us. Some societies externalize that and we call it shame-based sort of ideas, but for now we're talking about the idea that I'm really concerned about what other people think about me. When I talk to people, clients in my clinic, I say, well, okay, what people? Well, you know, people. It turns out that what's actually happening is the most negative belief you have about yourself, which we've established might not necessarily be accurate, is projected out. So you project it out onto fictionary, imaginary people, and then you imagine that they're thinking that negative belief about you, and then it comes back. So you feel that they are criticizing you, but really what's happening is you're criticizing yourself. So if you say, oh, I'm a failure, you think other people are thinking that you're a failure. Imaginary people are thinking this about you. Imaginary people are thinking that about you. And you know what? Here's the plain truth of it. Imaginary people are not very nice. In fact, I'll go so far as to say imaginary people are always negative, unhelpful, and critical of you. Do not let imaginary people rule your life. So if you're actually being overly concerned about what other people think about you, you're being overly concerned about what imaginary people think about you because nobody else is really paying attention. Do not be controlled by imaginary people. That is a huge mind trap. Do you know what? I think I can go a little bit higher. Yeah, and why not? Boy, it's not a very big climb, but it's big enough on a hot day. Let's see if the view, oh my word, and there's more. Well, that's the view from up here. Whew. Wow. There's a bit more breeze. We're looking out over the South China Sea, and that, dead ahead, is Sunshine Island. Whew. This is not the sort of thing you do every day, climb ladders to the tops of skyscrapers in Hong Kong. Oh man, I think you come with me here. It's a skyscraper that they're building. All of the scaffolding on it is bamboo. Bamboo, well, we won't call them canes, but bamboo. I always make the distinction between mindlessness and mindfulness. So we're talking about mind trap number 4. And when you walk around the streets, well, in Hong Kong or any big city, you just see an awful lot of mindless people. They're going about their business. They're not bumping into people. They're not, making errors of judgment by and large. But neither are they in their experience. They're elsewhere. They're thinking about where they're going. They're thinking about what they're going to have to eat next. They're thinking about their job. They're thinking about other kinds of things. And they're allowing themselves to navigate on automatic pilot. Now, don't mistake what I'm saying. Navigating around streets on automatic pilot and driving on automatic pilot, these are good things. But they're indicative of mind trap 4, which is that we fall into the habit of not being mindful. Therefore, we are mindless. We're on automatic pilot. And if everything's working smoothly in your life, automatic pilot's fine. But if things are not working smoothly, then automatic pilot is not fine, because it will automatically give you the problems that you have. So yesterday we went to see the big Buddha. Let me take you there for a few moments. Now the big Buddha is a representation, in the particular Chinese version I believe, that the Buddha is happy, so it's happiness and serenity and peacefulness. But Buddha achieved that by devoting the whole of his life to meditation. We don't have that luxury, should we even wish to do it, because I don't think devoting your whole life to meditation is necessarily a guarantee of anything. It's definitely a good sit down, and it probably makes you less, bothered by other kinds of things. But it's not a solution, because as far as I'm aware, Buddha is the only one that's managed to make it fully successfully work for him. So what do we need to do? Well, if automatic pilot will just give you what you get automatically, if you're happy now, then automatic pilot's fine. It will continue to give you happy. But if you're not happy now, then automatic pilot will give you not happy again and again and again. So we have to bring awareness to our experience so that we can change those automatic neural programs that are giving us the things that we don't want. So if you're anxious, you're automatically anxious. Now, I always say this: problems exist and persist if you don't have an alternative to the problem. And if you're struggling with anxiety, depression, panic, etc., and you haven't managed to find a way to eradicate these from your life, then you're struggling to find an alternative to the problem. Because the problem is that your brain, I've got a soggy tissue. The problem is that your brain is mistakenly thinking, is mistakenly assuming, is making the mistake of giving you the feeling of threat. Anxiety is an overestimation of threat. If you're depressed, your brain is mistakenly, through habit and practice, give you the experience of feeling not good enough, of thinking that you're not good enough, of thinking that you're a failure, of thinking there's something wrong with you, that people will reject you. I mean, it's giving you many, many experiences that you don't want. So we have to bring awareness to the moment, that moment of choice where we can say, hang on a minute, do I need to do something that's going to reinforce anxiety? Do I need to do something that's going to reinforce depression? Or can I do something different? Mindfulness gives you the opportunity to do something different in that moment. And that moment is the only moment that you have to make change. So the fourth mind trap is this: don't fall into the mind trap of living your life mindlessly on automatic pilot if you're not having the experience that you want. Mind trap number 5 is a kind of a summing up. Now, people treat you as you expect to be treated. What does that mean? It means that if you feel that you're not good enough, and therefore you have to please people to get acceptance, because otherwise you're just something that you're not worthy, then people will take that on board and they will treat you just like that. They will make you do things for them, and you will do them because you feel that you have to be accepted. But do you remember the first mind trap, that your thoughts are not always accurate? Suppose that's not true. Suppose you don't have to do what everybody wants just to be accepted. Suppose you're perfectly fine as you are. Or suppose I just feel like I've really got to be, there for people. I've got to give everything. Suppose you feel that you've got to really be the person that everyone goes to, everyone dumps on, everyone unloads to. But do you remember the second mind trap? Feelings are not facts. That might not be accurate. You might be spending your whole life doing stuff because it feels like it's something that you've got to do, but in fact you don't. So the fifth mind trap is not accepting yourself. It's not recognizing that you're no different from anybody else. Now your upbringing was different. Your school experience was different. Your work experience was different. Okay, but these are all external reality events that create internal reality neural programs and processes that are now giving you the experience that you don't want. Why not set up an experiment in your own life? Why not assume that you're acceptable as you are? As you are. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to change your weight, your appearance, your job, the way you talk, the way you socialize. You don't need to change anything. Just assume that you're acceptable. You're perfectly normal, ordinary and acceptable as you are. And see what happens. Now, just as a heads up, people are used to treating you as they have treated you, and people don't like to change how they treat people. So you might get a bit of resistance from other people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong, right? Work on the assumption that you are perfectly fine as you are, and see what happens. Now, you can recognize that you're going to forget to do that. It's going to seem like, it doesn't make any sense. People want me to do this. I feel guilty if I didn't do it. Yeah, but these are spurious. These are all erroneous. They're wrong emotions. They're wrong thoughts. You are the master of your destiny. You are the one that determines how your life goes. No one else. And furthermore, no one else really cares whether you're acceptable or not. No one cares what you do. You are the one that's in charge of your life. So those are the 5 mind traps that I think really are prevalent. They just keep so many people stuck, and it's just wrong, okay? So use my active self-help approach. Recognize these mind traps. Work on them. Change them. Escape from the mind traps and live the life that you can have, that is bigger and more interesting and more peaceful and calm and exciting and enjoyable. And here I am, look, in Hong Kong. There's a mountain behind me. I'm sweating like a dog. It's really hot. Even in the shade on the top of this skyscraper with a little bit of a breeze, it's red hot. But still, I'm having a good time. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for taking the time to watch and listen. Please subscribe. It is hot. I got dumped on the roof while the laundry was going on, and now I don't know where I am. The University of Hong Kong student bedroom. Which I have to say is pretty filthy. 2 students